sometimes people are embarrassed about how much money they make, whether it's too little, right? They get prideful about it, or, you know, their stuff is kind of in such a disarray, they're embarrassed about the mess. Right. And so that's okay too. The thing that you can't do is nothing.
Happy Wednesday, my goal getters and winners. This is Melissa Thomas, your host for the Getting the Win show. Thank you so much for tuning again. As I mentioned to you guys, we're going to get into the brass tacks of facing procrastination, kind of giving you some practical tips. So today we get down to business, literally. Today, I get the honor of interviewing Farah Collins, who is a tax expert, a tax advisor, and she also has her own podcast called Mindin Ya Biz. So we're not only talking procrastination, but we're talking procrastination as it relates to businesses and filing your taxes, making sure your financial documents are in order. So without further ado, check out the interview. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's edition of the Getting the Win show. As I mentioned in the intro, we are joined by the one and only Farah Collins. As you see, she's wearing a financially lit gear. Farah, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. First I'm going to start off talking about your podcast that you just launched. Kind of tell our audience about that and what made you decide to get started in terms of financial education, like starting to teach people how to get their documents together as it relates to tax prep. Talk about that.
So yes, thank you first for having me. Yes, my name is Farah B. Collins, and I've been in the financial space for over 14 years and teaching taxes. Well, first not teaching taxes, doing taxes has opened my eyes to a lot. And I've noticed the average medium salary is $40,000, and we are not managing and doing very well with that. And second is that when we do make money and extra money, our stuff is not aligned, right? Our documents aren't together. Our business acumen is not straight. And so we're really trading one master for another and really not living the life that God intended us to live, because our financial system is broken, right? And it's not together. And so, yes, I went into the teaching space because I just knew we needed it. And I knew how me learning, understanding financial concepts allowed me to really take control of my own financial mess that I used to be in. So I got it because I didn't grow up with it, and I overspent. I was emotionally connected to spending money. I loved that feeling I got from spending, and the feeling that I got for people saying, oh, that's a cute shirt. Oh, that's the so-and-so this, right? I was connected to the emotional feeling of spending money. And so I really want people to understand how to break that. All right. I was on a financial literacy boot camp, so to speak, with our coach ET, and Trap came on and talk about changing your financial algorithm. Yep. And that's like the epitome of my teaching, right? Changing the set of systems that you were brought up in, changing the system that you got used to, finding that rhythm that's really dysfunctional. And so starting the podcast, Minding Your Biz, is about that, right? It's about minding your business, getting your ducks in order, right? Crossing the T's and dotting those I's so that you can live the financial life that God wants us to live. Like, he's not going to bless us. He's not going to give us an overflow if you're not being a good steward of his money that he's given us. So I usually say, like, your money is like it's like almost like on a pie chart. It's like what is it called? Shared. I forgot my own saying, but it was basically like a pie chart. We are not even sharecropping. It's gonna come to me later, but we sharing this money. It's me, God, and the government, right? It's the we on the same pie chart, and we always have to be mindful of what goes where, right? The money doesn't belong to us, and we just have to be good stewards of it. So that's kind of like been my thing. And so being financially literate or financially lit is just like a passion. It's just helping because I know how it helped me. And so I really want our people to understand the controls and the freedoms and the power they have by really understanding financial concepts, because it's not always how much money you earn. It's really how much money you can manage, right? It's
Right.
we want to consume and want more money, more stuff to buy the stuff. But if you were a good steward of what God has already blessed you with, you would probably figure out how to make a way with that. We overspend, we overconsume, we're emotionally attached to buying stuff that we really don't need, right? And so that's kind of the foundation of minding your biz and staying financially lit, right?
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you for sharing a little bit of backstory too, in terms of how you've transformed your spending, because that's important too. Like folks like to see when they're, getting advice from folks like, okay, what have you come from? What have you experienced? Now, of course, here on the Getting the Win show, we like talking about beating procrastination. So I'd love to kind of touch on that as it relates to finances and financial education. Do you find that in terms of whether it's your clients or people that seek you out for tax advice, like do you notice that procrastination is a common thing, and then how do you normally kind of get them out of that?
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Finances is like the thing we sweep under the rug. We don't want to talk about it. We're embarrassed about it. We really don't want to pull the curtain back, right? And so what happens with the things that we really don't want to do, we fail to take action. We procrastinate on the thing we know we should do, and it kind of rolls into a snowball effect of just more bad financial decisions, right? Because just think about it. When you are preparing and doing your taxes, whether you're a business owner or your regular W-2 person, the purpose is to pay a portion of what you earn. And so people at times want to try to circumvent that, right? They want to try to cheat the government on how they should go about doing that. And the government gives you plenty options on how to do that, right? Tons of options. But you have to have your stuff in order.
True.
As a business owner, you can lower your tax debt by having your deductions and your expenses in order. And if you don't have that, you end up paying more taxes. And you end up paying penalties and fees. And that's the snowball effect, because you procrastinated. You were slow on the draw. You didn't pull the curtain back and say, oh my God, I know tax season is coming. Let me operate my business from the offensive and not the defensive. Okay, let me get a handle of this. No, we like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. It's a mess. And you keep pushing it off, which is the epitome of procrastination. It's like,
that's it.
It's like, because, it's something you don't want to face, you don't want to deal with. And so now, months later, it has rolled into an avalanche. And now you're paying increased penalties and fees, and you have to pay the professional to get you out of said mess. So if you would handle it in the beginning, it saves you so much more time and money, and it's usually not as bad as we think it is. We've created this narrative in our mind. Oh my God, I'm gonna owe so much. It's so this, it's so that. And you hadn't conversed or talked to a tax professional. You just had it in your mind or on google.com, right? Or you talk to your coworker who's not a tax professional, right? When people think they're sick, they start Googling, what's wrong with me? What's right? You didn't go to not near doctor. You didn't see a physician. You just assume by google.com that you got an ulcer, that so I find it's the same in your finances. We do not go to the professional, and we're assuming things. And when that happens, you really end up making it a lot worse than what it is, right? Because I could say to several clients I've seen this, if you would have came to me 4 months ago, it wouldn't have been this problem, right? 4 months ago. And so I find that people just don't want to tackle it, right? And it's something deeper there. I'm sure you can definitely uncover that, right? But I know there's something deeper, some type of psychosis, why people don't handle their business. Why do they procrastinate at that? And I know with finances, it's a form of embarrassment, and just in general, people aren't comfortable talking about money.
Right.
We have to get more comfortable about talking about the things that make us uncomfortable. So you debunk and lower the heightened, the false, right? Because it's not true, right? And if you talk about things that make you uncomfortable, eventually they're not uncomfortable anymore.
True.
You know what I mean? So you have to get in that routine of talking about things, especially we're talking about finances, that make you uncomfortable, to lower the temperature a little bit, so you feel more comfortable handling it. Like, you know what, I'm ready. I'm gonna talk to my tax person. You know, because sometimes people are embarrassed about how much money they make, whether it's too little, right? They get prideful about it, or, you know, their stuff is kind of in such a disarray, they're embarrassed about the mess.
Right.
Right. And so that's okay too. The thing that you can't do is nothing.
Right. That's illegal. Can't do nothing. Very true. Very true. So you mentioned in the one scenario, you know, if had they come to you 4 months ago, it would have been fine. What do you notice is 4 months, is that usually a good window in terms of stewardship? Like in terms of, because I know in some businesses they have to do the quarterlies, some people still do annual. Kind of talk about when the ideal time would be to approach a tax professional to get their finances in order.
Absolutely. So you're a tax professional, depending on your level of income and where you are. And one of the reasons I think, and I always talk about learning to date your business, right? Having an intimate relationship with your business, just as you would do a friend, a loved one. You're in tune to their wants and needs. And you have to be just like that with your finances, whether you're a W-2 or business owner. Because as a W-2 person, and you go into investing and you become a higher earner, you still need to be just as in tune as someone that's self-employed. So depending on your level, you need to be talking to your tax professional at least minimum twice a year, right? If you are not someone who makes over 50,000, generally the once a year thing could work, right? If you are $30,000 a year, you are on a W-2 job, and you've been kind of in that scenario for a period of time. But you always want to talk to a tax professional when things change in your life. If you get married, if you have children, if your children go off to college, if you buy a property, if you buy a home. So life-changing things in your life, you need to consult the tax attorney when it's happening, right? Not once the door is closed, right? Normally they want to wait until the end the following year. So for example, right now it's October 23rd, 2023. We're in the last quarter. If you make over 60,000, you should have already spoken to your tax professional twice already, right? Now, if you're making over 100,000, every quarter, you should be talking to your financial advisors, your tax professionals, so that you can stay on the pulse, on the beat of your business, right? You're dating. Remember, you're dating your business. If you're dating someone like you date your business, and you only talk to the person one time a year, do you have a good sense of what's happening? Do you wonder why nobody's calling you back? Like, that relationship is a little strange, right? But if I'm in tune with you every month, every quarter, I have a different relationship. I know what's happening in my business real time. So I can mitigate or kind of work where my tax liability is before it's too late, right? And so I'm gonna just reiterate that so it's easier for people to understand. If you're $50,000 and under, and you have a W-2 job, once a year could suffice, unless there are things that happen in your life that change your algorithm. If you got married, you had a child, those types of things. If you bought a home or buy investment property, or you retire or take money from your retirement, things that you do that are not normal, consult a tax professional. If you are a self-employed business owner, you really need to talk to your tax professional minimum twice a year. right? The 6-month mark, so you can have an idea of what the rest of the year looks like. But if you are high performing and you're bringing money in and you're making over at least 6 figures, 10 grand a month, you need to be every quarter. Every quarter, you need to talk to your tax professional, because things could change and you're going to have a larger tax liability, and you want to be on top of that and figure out how you can lower that. And because that's when I feel like we get a little flagrant with God's money. We just start being careless. We got too many subscriptions. We're buying stuff we shouldn't buy. We're excited about our achievements, but we're upgrading our lives too soon, and our discipline starts to wane, right? We're like, oh, I'm making some money now. And we don't a lot, because remember, we're sharing that money. It doesn't belong to it. Me, God, and the IRS. So that money doesn't belong to you. So as you start making more money, we're in a profit share. That's what it is. It's a profit share. So you, as your financial the portion of your pie gets bigger, so does your tax liability, your responsibility. So you and your tax professional need to be on a one-on-one first name basis every quarter, and paying quarterly taxes, as I always tell my clients, is a great way, almost like paying your taxes on layaway.
I like that. That's cool.
Right. We can relate to that. So at the end of the day, you're always going to have to pay something. Right. So a prime example, if you made $100,000 and you were disciplined, you have great bookkeeping, and you have $50,000 in deductions and expenses, and so your taxable income drops now to $50,000. That's your tax liability. That's what you're paying. Okay. Now, $50,000, let's say you have to pay about 15% of that. Out of the 50, you'll be paying almost $12,000. And so most of us don't, sometimes a lot, that all have to pay the IRS 10 or 12 grand or 15,000. But if you were paying the IRS 3,000 every quarter, right? At the end of the year, most times that my clients who pay quarterly end up getting a refund.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because you're paying the taxes on the gross. You're paying the taxes. You're not including the expenses. So you're paying the taxes. So at the end of the year, when we add all those expenses in, you actually overpaid. And so at the end of the year, there's a nice refund coming to you that you can now put towards your financial goals for your business, right? Oh, that's the down payment on my mobile truck, or that's the down payment on my, podcast studio, whatever, you anticipated that because you prepared, right? You were like, oh, every quarter I'm paying my taxes ahead of the time. And so it's a win-win, especially for people who have a hard time budgeting, right? It really helps them, including myself. I don't like to see large amounts of money go out of my account.
Who does?
I don't want to pay them a check. I don't want to give them $20,000, $30,000 at the end of the year. I'm paying it every quarter. Okay. I feel better about that. That works for me. It works for my psyche, and then at the end of the year, I'm like, oh, I paid them. Are they already? Okay, great.
Exactly. Like it's out the way. It is out of the way.
Yes.
Absolutely. So kind of talk to our audience about like how you stay productive. I previously, for those of you who've been watching the show, you guys saw my interview with Raymond Jones, again, a gentleman who does not struggle with procrastination because he's very productive. Like Farah is very similar in that way. They're both very driven. They move very fast. They have vision. They have goals. So kind of talk to our audience, Farah, about like whether procrastination is even something you struggle with at all, or even if you do, what your tips are to kind of bust through that.
No, for sure. I think everybody, including myself, struggles with a degree of procrastination on what it is. And for me, it's really the task, some of the menial tasks that I know either I shouldn't do or don't want to do. And so when that comes before me, I literally just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. even though I'm like, oh God, I really don't want to do this. I know I have to do it because I'm like, if I don't do it, it's going to hold up something else. So for me, I run like to it for like 100 miles an hour. Like is no, because I'm like, I got to run to it hard and fast. Because if I slow down, if I think too long, I'm not going to do it. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna just run right to it. Okay, what do I have to do? I have to do, like, for example, I'm gonna be completely transparent. The call today, I was not feeling that I wanted to do it because I wasn't me, right? I was like, oh, I don't have my makeup done. I don't have my this done. And I was slow. And I said, Farah, just do it. You're all in your head for no reason. You're causing a bigger stink in your head. Just do it. It's not as big of a deal as you're making it. So things that causes me to pause, I almost like put the gear in reverse. I mean, full forward. Like I'm like, just go. That means that it's going to help me overcome. I'm gonna be better on the other side. You know what I mean? So the thing that's causing you to delay, that's causing some pause or some friction, you know, for me, the way that I can, because I don't like that feeling. I don't like that uneasy feeling, like, oh my God, that unsure, or that doesn't sit well with me. It has to be on or off, one thing or the other. I don't do well in the gray. So it has to be on or off. Either we're not going to do it or we're going to do it. So if there is something that's causing that friction, I'm going to put my foot on the gas and go right to it. Let's just get it done. So I don't have this uneasy feeling of not getting something done. Oh my God, if I have to. Then the one thing, the thing that for me, this past week that I had my own dealings with procrastination was was my insurance. So this is the thing. People going to probably calls me all type of names. But I had 2 cars still on my insurance policy that I was paying for.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. And those cars I traded in, I sold them. And for whatever reason, we never notified the State Farm that we were still paying for said vehicles. Okay. So for the past 6 months, because I wasn't being a good steward, I wasn't doing what I needed to do. And I knew I had to in the back of my mind, because I was like, my bill is like weird. I'm still paying an increased amount. And I should be 2 cars lighter. But because I didn't want to take the time to get on the phone and spend the time that I thought in my mind I didn't want to have, it cost me more money. And I'm like, well, that's not being a good steward of God's money. How dare you tell somebody and you're not practicing what you preach? Girl, get on the phone, handle your business so that you, okay? And I counted, did the math on how much money that I actually lost. And once I did that, that was my motivator to get on the phone. I was like, oh, how much? 1,500. Oh no, girl, you crazy.
That's a big loss.
That's a big loss. That hurts. That's hurting me. And I was like, okay, you can't do that. You got to change your financial algorithm. You got to be a good steward of God's money. You were procrastinating because you didn't want to spend time on the phone, and you lost $1,500. So if there's something that you don't want to do, that you're dragging, you got to put your foot on the gas and go.
Absolutely. And make sure you guys, if y'all are note takers, write all of that. Take notes from all of that. She said, don't live in the gray. Okay. You're either not doing it or you're full speed ahead and knock it out.
Yes.
Something you don't feel like doing. I want to make sure you guys caught that.
Or make the decision not to do it. But you can't sit in this like purgatory. Like, I don't know, what should that doesn't help you make the decision. Because what happens is that we're caught up so much in our head that it paralyzes you from doing anything.
Right.
And so at least if you move forward and you fail, you got some data, you got some analytics to help you why you fell, you know, how far did you fall? Like you can figure out how to do it different next time. But if you never do the thing, you don't have any data. You're kind of sitting in purgatory, like playing mind tricks. Should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't know. Am I good enough? If I'm not good enough, just put your foot on the gas and go, or make a decision not to do it and move on. Right. So Hope that helps
Awesome.
somebody.
Oh, it will definitely help some folks. I mean, you reiterated what I discussed in episode 5, talking about the 5 different procrastination styles, and the solution for one of them is like there are certain things you only learn when you do it. Like there are certain things you only unlock by doing it. So you definitely reinforce that. Like that's very important. Real quick as we wrap up though, let folks know where they can find out about the podcast and tell them about your services as well.
Appreciate you. So yes, I'm Farah B. Collins. Our podcast is Mind Your Biz, and we are live in our studio teaching space every Wednesday at 10 a.m. at 3800 Camp Creek Parkway. You can reach me on all my socials, Mrs., because I'm a married woman, Mrs. Fab Financial, Mrs. Fab Financial, because I am all things financial. But I'm fabulous too, because my degree is actually in fashion merchandising. But that's another.
It shows.
That's another story. But yeah, so tap in to me if you have any questions, issues about tax preparation, about your services, about your own financial algorithm. You always, even if you're dedicated to someone, it's always a great thing to get a second and third opinion to affirm what's already happening in your financial space. And so you can reach out to me and to all of those, like I just said. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tapping in, so that we can be better and smarter on the other side of this thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Y'all. Timing is everything. Make sure that you are getting financially lit, as the sweater
That's
says.
right.
Make sure you get educated and stay on top of your finances, whether you're starting from scratch or in some cases starting over. Maybe you've been in business for a while and you've got to get your financial documents in order because they haven't been for the longest time. It's still not too late. Like it's always a great time to start over and do the thing correctly, whatever that thing may be for you. But Farah, thank you so much for being on. Appreciate you. The floor is open if you have anything left to share, but appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I definitely want to second that. It's never too late to start over. And so changing your financial algorithm and getting your financial house in order is so important. I think the spirit, the energy now, we're talking about legacy building and, leaving something to our family. But the main thing you could do is leave them healthy financial habits. You know what I mean? Because if you make all the money in the world and they can't maintain it or grow it, you've done really all of that for nothing. So I pass good financial habits down to your children, spread it, right? If you're able to figure out a system, share and tell a person, but get your stuff together. Don't leave people a mess. Don't leave people a mess, please. Right. Don't leave people a mess. Just talk to someone. Don't be ashamed. Take control of your financial life, your house. If you don't know how to budget, get with someone. If you're not sure of your tax liability, get with someone. If you're not sure what your withholding should be on your W-2, get someone and not your coworker. Get with someone, have a clear financial picture, of what's happening with you. So hopefully, like I said, it's really it's a passion of mine to make sure that people stay financially lit.
Mic drop. Y'all make sure to check out her podcast every Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And, check her out on IG. Make sure you follow her at Mrs. Fab Financial. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Farah Collins. Thank you so much for being on. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully you found that interview helpful. There were some huge nuggets there that Farah dropped. Shout out to her for talking about stewardship and being as transparent as possible about her own journey as it relates to finances. If that's you, if you resonate with that, leave a comment below. Let me know where you are. And of course, make sure to check her out on her podcast every Wednesday. Make sure you get those tips from her and make sure you stay on top of your business documents or even your personal financial documents that you're taking care of. Make sure you're staying on top of things. And as you heard her say, there's no gray. It's either black or white. You're either not doing it at all or you're going full speed ahead right through it. That is one of the most important keys in facing procrastination. It's not vacillating, not going in between the two opinions. Being double-minded is unsustainable. So if there are any other takeaways, make sure you leave them in the comments, but that's the biggest one I want to hammer home for you and reiterate. All right. In the meantime, continue to work on that luxury item. I want to make sure you hashtag get on that. And of course, be sure to leave a comment with your takeaways. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. You can find me at Getting the Win on YouTube and at Getting the Win Show on Instagram, Threads, and Pinterest. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Wednesday and an awesome rest of your week. Let's get these goals.